conversations and relationships and back and forth. Drew Lock, after the game, talking about his current relationship with the guy who stood there in uniform and did not play, and nobody knew he wasn't playing until just before the start of the game. Pete Carroll pulled it off. He kept it close to the vest all the way until kickoff. Geno Smith didn't play. Here's Lock talking about his relationship with Geno Smith.
That's like an unsung hero in these last 2 weeks, man. The encouragement that he's given me, the little pep talks here and there, helping in the film room. It was so cool that, like, when roles flipped and I was going to have to go be the starter, he did the same thing for me that I was trying to do for him. That's just an unselfish dude in there, man. I appreciate him more than words can describe. Talking to me before that 2-minute, you're the best player on this field. You're going to lead us down this field right now. Go get it done. Just things like that, man. It's really cool. This is a really special quarterback room, including Sean when he came in here these last couple weeks. Just a savvy vet, man. Knows a lot about ball, and it's really comforting having him in the room. It's just an awesome group.
Hey, and it really is selfless because, look, it's a team sport, but the individuals have contracts. And Geno Smith's contract, even though it was much ballyhooed as 3 years, $100 million or whatever it was, it's a one-year deal. Seahawks can rip it up and escape it after this season. And I'm not saying they're going to do that and say, Drew Lock, you're our guy after last night. But if Geno Smith doesn't come back soon, Pete Carroll said after the game he expects Geno to play this week, but he probably said something similar after their last game, and Geno Smith didn't play. But there's something to be said for riding the hot hand and seeing how far the hot hand can take you. And they didn't accidentally give him a contract that allowed them to make a decision after this year. They wanted to see it again. And it was close last year between him and Drew Lock. And now they're getting to see it from Drew Lock. And a win like last night's is something that is hard for a coach to forget. When that guy delivers in that moment, it is hard to forget. Because how many guys do we see can play well for the first 58 minutes of the game and then can't in a moment like that? When you do that and you create the confidence that if we get in that spot again, you might be able to do it again, that counts for something. And I give Geno Smith credit for doing everything he can to help Drew Lock do it, because the better Drew Lock plays, the more at risk Geno Smith's contract becomes.
That's true, but I also, as good as Drew Lock played in that, or as well as Drew Lock played, in that last bit, and those throws that he made.
Columbia strikes again.
Yeah. Hey, man,
wow.
It's a little early out here. All right, give me a little grace. But as well as Drew Lock played on those last couple throws, I mean, you can't necessarily ignore everything else that happened over the course of the game. And there were throws that Drew Lock did not make. And I'm a fan of Drew Lock. I have been ever since he was singing Jeezy or rapping Jeezy on the sideline against the Raiders in week 17 of the 2019 season. So I like to see him do well. But I think one of the things that really stood out to me, because sometimes quarterbacks, they get to the podium and they start saying stuff and they start kind of telling tales that make things seem better than they really are. And I think sometimes that happens, especially with quarterbacks and backups and all these different things. And I've seen it before, but you could tell that Drew Lock was really telling the truth there, because when Drew Lock made that throw to Jackson Smith and Jigba, they cut to Geno Smith on the sideline. And you could see that Geno Smith was doing the same celebration as Drew Lock. And you could tell that he was legitimately happy for everything that Drew Lock had just done. So I give Geno Smith so much credit for not only helping Drew Lock prepare, but helping Drew Lock in that moment, right? And then celebrating with his teammate, because not everybody's going to do that, especially not a quarterback.
And I just had this vision of a possibility where the Seahawks quarterbacks continue to be, over the next 5 years, Smith and Lock. And maybe it's kind of a constant competition as to who plays, and the other guy constantly supports and understands. So, and maybe it will be Smith, and maybe Lock will stay. I don't know. After last night, there aren't many great quarterbacks out there. There aren't many guys that can get it done. I've said there aren't enough bad quarterbacks to go around in the NFL currently. Drew Lock has to be a guy who's getting some notice, Hell, Joe Flacco was getting some notice. One of the things I noticed in Peter King's column yesterday, Joe Linta, who represents Flacco, said a couple of teams called last Monday when Flacco was technically a free agent and wanted to sign Joe Flacco. People notice this kind of stuff. I'm paying attention to Drew Lock if I'm trying to figure out who my quarterback is going to be for 2024 after last night. So maybe they won't have the luxury of that shared relationship where they can help boost each other. Maybe Lock will be moving on, or maybe Geno will be moving on, or maybe one will, one won't, maybe both will. Who the hell knows? All I know is this. Lock was great last night, and the Seahawks are in position to make things happen in this cluster of 7-7 teams in the NFC. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.